Just got off the practice field, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm discombobulated here. But really exciting day. Very, very smooth morning. Things went very good. We're very excited about these 20 young men that have joined the program. Went out and had a very good practice, and then just dismissed the team. So it's been a very busy morning, but an exciting time. So I have no other time to prepare an opening statement, so I'll put up for questions at that time.
Mark, what were you guys looking for when you had to kind of restart that QB search late in the process, and what attracted you to Terry as the number one option?
Yeah, it was obviously, you get thrown curveballs, throughout this process. We understand that. I think that is definitely one position that's a little bit unique because you really focus in on guys early. You kind of get that relationship and try to nail that down. And it does get touchy at that spot. I think every other position, we recruit a bunch of guys. So if something falls through, you move on to the next guy. And I truly believe that every player we sign or whoever signs them, it's meant to be. So really I don't get too flustered or too worried about any of that kind of stuff with the guys that come and go. I do think quarterback is a different situation. It was I think a credit to our staff to go out and look and see who was available. Fortunately, Terry was there, and so we're very blessed to have him in this signing class. I think it was a position we definitely needed to get somebody in this spot. The nice thing about Terry is he's a year older. He played a year of college football. He's already been at a Power 5 school for a year, so he knows what he's getting into. The beautiful thing about him was he was a joy to recruit. It was very difficult. He was getting pulled a million different directions, and there was a time when things started getting very hairy where he was getting pulled from people at his junior college, from everybody. And that's when you saw maybe some reports of when he was coming, and he and I sat down and I had a very direct conversation with him. And, he was unbelievable. You saw the maturity in him. When he talked to me, he said, I never really looked at it that way. He said, I hear you, Coach. I told him to think about a few things, and he called me back 40 minutes later. And he said, Coach, I'm coming in. I'm coming in on this date. I don't care what anybody else says. And he came in, and it's been, a great recruiting process from that point on. Came in, had a good weekend, and he's been a joy to recruit.
How does he fit to what you guys try to do offensively, and what will he kind of add to the competition next season?
Well, he fits in very well with what we do. I think, we, molded the offense to what we had to, a year ago, like we talked about. We have tried to be more efficient in throwing the ball, and at times we have. And again, that goes with everybody. That goes from protection to receivers and quarterback and so on. I think we all want to take the passing game up another notch. And again, I think that's not throwing any shade on Steven. That's with the whole offense, and in particular with getting some playmakers around him. But he's very versatile. But he's got a very strong arm. He's very, very poised in the pocket. But yes, he is athletic as well. So that's nice to have that. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. It should open up a lot of doors because we need some. Because if you look at us 2 years ago, we hit the ball down the field quite a bit. And with our run game and being so efficient at running the ball, we need to get the ball down the field some. And, we have tried. You've watched the games and have seen that. Our percentage is much lower this year as it was a year ago with hitting the ball down the field. And obviously some of that is personnel and with our outside receivers.
Mark on the call was listed in most places as an offensive lineman, but you guys announced him as a defensive lineman. Was that always your intention when recruiting him, or is that going to be a spot, or are you still trying to figure that out?
That was our intention because that's what he wanted to play when he got here, and we looked at him on both sides of the ball and felt like he was versatile enough to play on either side. So big thing is I want I wanted him playing at Kentucky, and whatever side of the ball was good with me.
How important was it getting Michigan this year to start the
Yeah. I think it was very important. I appreciate, Coach Klink did a good job. He had some relationships in there. Getting DeAndre out of Cats Tech is important. There's some very good football players in there. I think he's done a nice job.
Talk about Florida. You have 8 kids from Florida that's done.
It is, and Eddie Gran has just done a remarkable job getting these players. I've been down there, as you know, for a long time, but Eddie really has very, very strong relationships with people down there. And down there, when you start recruiting South Florida, it's about trust. And he's been there for, I don't know, I want to age him, at least 30 years. And, I noticed it right away. I think I commented on it before at a prior press conference about other things. But when he and I first went to Florida State, and I went with him, because I've been through Florida, all through Florida. But when I went with him to South Florida, it's amazing, the connections that he has down there. And it's just about the way he works and the type of person he is, and the strong relationships that he has, whether it be guys that he's recruited that are not under coaching. But he's always done right by kids for a long time and has a great reputation in South Florida. And I think that's a big key, is trust. And he works extremely hard at it, and I love the players that he signed out of there, both last year and this year, because they're very, very unique individuals and remarkable young men, and proud to have them.
When you read Brendan Bates' bio, it feels like I'm reading C.J. Conrad 3 years ago. Is that a fair comparison?
It is. I think Brendan is another kid that I could just go on and on about, because you love his athletic ability, but more important, you love the type of person he is, because he is a lot like CJ in that regard. I think he's bigger than CJ was coming. I know he's bigger than CJ coming out, and that's a nice thing. But Brendan is much like CJ in that he is a great team player, and he'll do anything to help the football team win. He's a competitor. Again, never wavered, not a bit, and was getting pulled and called and all kind of things, and he wouldn't hear it, and he wouldn't visit. He wasn't taking any calls, and it just says a lot about him and his character and who he is. But very, very good football player, got unbelievable size. He's again that prototypical tight end. Both him and Keaton are exactly what you're looking for at tight end. You watch their highlights, you see their size and how physical they are and how big they are already. They've become very close to the recruiting process. They'll fit great in that room. I think we have a very good room in with the tight ends, and it'll be great to add those two guys.
You have 20 right now. How many more do you want to get in February, and what's it going to be like devoting 7 weeks to just getting 3 or 4 more guys?
Excuse me, I'm going to check my phone because I'm still waiting on a couple. I expect to sign, possibly 4 more. It depends where we're at. I mean, that would be pushing it for us, but there's some very good football players that we're in pretty deep on, and we'll go into February with several of the guys that we've already been recruiting, and then several other guys where we'll continue to poke around and find some new guys as well.
You're still waiting on some guys potentially, but this morning overall, did it go according to plan, and were you happy with what happened?
I was very pleased with the way it went. Again, very few surprises. There's always things that you have to work through, but I think it went very well. I'm very pleased with these guys, and they've been so solid, through the process, but you never know. They're getting pulled at. There's guys on here that were getting poked at until last night and constantly pulled and, asked to not sign and don't sign early and come on visits and being offered scholarships yesterday or the past couple days, and these guys didn't waver, and that's the character we're looking for. So I'm very pleased.
So do you think you could get more signings in the next 2 days?
I think we could get possibly 1 or 2 more in the next 2 days. Yeah,
What's the
I do.
message now to guys who didn't sign
I don't know if I have any direct message. Those guys out there that didn't sign that we are going to continue to recruit, and we have a great relationship with, and I understand the reasons why they didn't sign. as we talk about this, and I think a lot of coaches are going to give their opinions on the early signing period, and I'm not up here to the rules are what they are, and for us, again, if guys have been committed to us for some length of time, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, and they have an opportunity to sign today, why not? My December is ridiculous anyway, and every coach is. If you're fortunately, we want to go to a bowl game, and you want to be that busy with practices, and you're going to have to go on home visits anyway. So I mean, you're slammed anyway. So if guys are solid, like most of these guys were, and they want to sign, why not? Other than to let them get poached. So I'm glad to get these guys locked down, because believe me, there's some players here that can play at an awful lot of top 5 schools.
The school coach, like you said, is late for the dance, putting on pretty girl. Is it going to change their approach to recruiting?
I really don't know. I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on anybody else's recruitment. I'm worried about Kentucky, and I'm worried about getting the best players for this university, and I think it does help these individuals. If these guys weren't 100% committed, then they obviously wouldn't have signed today. So I don't think they were really worried about who was coming in or not coming in, because many of them were. So I look at these guys and I say they were solid to Kentucky, and they signed today, and they're happy to do it.
Now that you've been loose up to this point through this for the first time, anything surprise you? What did you learn? Maybe something that you didn't expect on
I don't know if there's anything that I didn't expect. I think it's definitely, going through it for the first time, maybe, when you see the coaching changes is definitely something that you have to factor in.
You've always had a lot of kids from Kentucky on your signing day. No, this one.
Yeah.
Is it just a little bit of an odd?
Yeah, I definitely don't want that to be the case. I definitely want to continue to make Kentucky our priority. And some years there's going to be more than others. And there's always good quality in Kentucky. The quantity's not maybe the same as some other states, but there's always some very good players in here.
Mark, it almost seems like you made it a priority to sign a punter and a kicker. What happened to the good old days when you just pulled somebody off the soccer field and made it?
Yeah. I've been hit with too many questions on my special teams in here through the years. So you guys are too tough on me in here. So now I think we all know the importance of kickers and punters and holders and snappers, and it's never an issue, and it's really not anything we talk about unless it's a problem, with the exception of maybe some game-winning kicks or, exceptional punts and things like that. So they understand that. It's they fly under the radar sometimes, but as coaches, we always understand the importance of that. And some years you have to invest in the scholarships, and I'm very proud of the two guys we signed today.
How have you developed this Australian punter pipeline?
That's secrets there. That's secret. So I could tell you this. Unfortunately, I haven't made that recruiting trip yet, so I'm gonna have to maybe go and may have to go here in January. See if I can go for a minute. So yeah, sometimes.
Mark, you talked about teams maybe coming in late, trying to pick guys off at the last minute. As far as Terry's recruitment, what was just that process like? Because I know kind of late on, it seemed like there's a lot of schools really after him, but then he was selling out.
Well, there was, and again, I think I touched on it. I don't think I need to get into complete detail, but again, he and I had a conversation that I wanted to gauge his how sincere he was with us, and it wasn't going to be in the situation where we were getting bounced around on visits and dates, and so he and I had a heart-to-heart, and again, he called me back 40 minutes later and said, "Coach, I'm coming. This is what I want to do." And there was a lot of people that get in these kids' ear, and that pull a million different directions. At the end of the day, these guys have to do what's best for them. And so he tightened his circle, had a conversation, decided to come in, came in and had a great weekend. And he's a remarkable young man that you guys, I look forward to you all getting an opportunity to visit with him, because he's strong, and he has the characteristics that you're looking for in a quarterback. And once he made his decision, there was no wavering in his mind. That's what he was going to do. There's a ton of good schools. They just come in for a weekend, just come have fun, come do this. No. He was all business. That's what he wanted to do. He was locked in, and you have to appreciate that. Those characteristics, that type of leadership will carry him a long way.
Terry said that when he came in, he saw practice and he was just ready to put on pads. Have you seen having the bowl practices during the recruiting weekends be a big advantage?
I think it's always an advantage, for situations like that. I think it's important for the players to come out and see the players that are there, and just see the tempo and the way we practice and the way we do things, and see how they fit and be around our players. I definitely think it's a help.
Bryce Oliver was a guy who hadn't publicly committed until this morning. Do you think it was important to have somebody kind of surprise the fans and people watching?
Yeah, I think he was a very big commit, and he was obviously on our radar for a good bit, but again, very strong young man. He was taking some time, taking his visits, and we felt good about it. But he came here on campus, had a great visit, and we were obviously extremely pleased when we got that commitment, because I believe he's a big-time player, and he's going to be a difference maker. He plays exceptionally strong. He's very mature. He's all business, tremendous basketball player, so a very good athlete. So we're very happy with him.
Mark, are there any guys on the defensive side of the ball that maybe didn't get a ton of buzz that you're especially excited about?
Well, I hate to single out any one guy. I mean, obviously, we feel very good about this whole crew. We really do. And, I probably need to be guarded in that, because I hate to put expectations on kids sometimes that don't, they don't reach them and all that, and they have to hear about it. I think, football's a developmental game, and we'll see between now and the time they report, whether they're in a position to help us or not. You never can tell, because sometimes we think somebody's ready to go and they're not, and vice versa. So we'll see how it goes.
With a lot of the kids who signed all through the camps here over the summer, how important is that?
Is that right, every one of them?
No,
Oh, a lot, yeah.
how important is that in terms of evaluating, but also building relationships?
Well, that's a very, very, very important. There's a couple guys that jump out at me, and I was talking about it. Who was that? I was on the podcast there this morning, talking about a few guys, but that was it was Ashton Pierre. He's one that he, had he not come to camp, I'm not sure, where we would have been. I mean, obviously he was very highly recruited, but he was playing some different positions. So if you just look at the film, he was out of position sometimes and doing what he has to do to help his high school team. But he came in here and was terrific on his feet, and the way he was playing linebacker inside out, and was very versatile and very explosive. So that's one guy where it's very important. But I think all coaches will tell you we love to get eyes on them and work with them in person. It's one thing even to watch a game or watch a practice, but when they're in your camp and you're working with them, that's the best eval you can have.
Mark, the last couple of years, you have recruited guys that were maybe spend most of their career playing basketball, but very good football, very guys like Taylor, like that.
Jordan Wright was another one. Yeah, there's a lot of these guys that play basketball. I think Bryce was a guy that I had mentioned, but they all tell me they're great athletes. So I don't know. We'll see. But we have some pretty good basketball players on our team, and I think a lot of these guys were definitely guys that either ran track, played basketball, did some other sport. Yeah. I hate to single out any one guy, a sleeper, or put expectations on them. I mean, obviously, I think we're very pleased with this group, or we wouldn't have signed them. And again, I think from past experience, I'm not sitting here saying you need to have a whole team full of diamonds in the rough, because your percentage will probably be pretty low. You need to recruit some guys that are somewhat of no-brainers. You put on the film and you see a great player. And then there's other guys you see that you see the talent in them, and you see them in time, in a year or two, the development that could be special players. And again, Josh Allen is a great example of that. He's one of the guys that eventually, whenever he decides to go to the pros, will be one of our highest drafted guys. And he wasn't recruited very heavily at all.
Mark, you looking for defensive linemen with the spots left open inside?
We could, yeah. We never turn away a good defensive lineman, so we're always on the hunt for those guys, like most people. Yeah.
Coach, how do you see running back Chris Rodriguez fitting into the offensive picture?
Chris, we really like Chris. I think one of the best compliments we could give Chris is telling me he's a lot like Benny, and what I mean by that is you all know the way I've commented on Benny early on was we had a good idea of what we were getting. Maybe not necessarily knowing how many yards he would get in his first 2 years, but we knew he was a strong player. We knew he was mentally tough. We knew he was a competitor. And Chris, I feel, is the same way. I feel like he's a very tough guy. I think he's very disciplined. He's very strong, gets very tough yards, and so we're excited about him.
How many guys do you expect to be here for spring?
That's a good question. I didn't get that. I've been, 5 or 6. Coach Morrow says so. I didn't. I told you I've been slammed, so I apologize. Y'all probably have some more empirical data than I do on some of these guys. So.
Mark, Mitch Barnhart was recently elected chair at CCADs. How do you think that helps your program specifically in recruiting, and how active has Mitch been recruiting?
Well, I don't know how that would affect recruiting, but I think it's a great compliment to Mitch and our department because Mitch does things right, and he's been around a long time, and he has great respect within our league. That's for sure. That's very evident when I'm with him at our conference meetings and traveling with him and spending time with him and our commissioner and people in our conference office and the other athletic directors within the league. So. It didn't take very long for me to see that he's very well respected.
What were you looking for in the wide receivers positions? And do you recruit for specific positions of wide receivers, or do you just kind of get them here and figure out where they fit?
No, we do, of course. You see some guys like Akeem that you look that he's going to be a dynamic inside guy, and then you look for some guys that have the ability to stretch the field and go vertical and go up over people and make competitive catches. And so we want some outside guys as well. And that's with Marvin and Bryce, guys that can get down the field and go get the football. But Marvin was a guy that came here in camp, and after one day of camp, I said, Eddie, we have to have him. There's no way I want to play against him, and we need him here. So he was a priority. He's dynamic.
Lasso, what about him?
Pardon me?
What about him?
He's very shifty. He's just one of those guys. He gets the ball in his hand. He gets open. He's elusive, and has some natural instincts with getting open.
A few years ago, we had a bunch of songs recruitment. I think a couple of the staff had to stay the night. Is there anything that happened with these signings that was kind of an adventure? You said how kind of rush you've been over the past few weeks.
I don't really think so. No, not to my knowledge. I've been. Yeah, it's been busy, but the staff has done a great job. They recruit geographically, and then we recruit positionally, and then I have to get in everybody's home, and so that time it gets busy. When you have this early signing period and you're trying to visit everybody in their home, that gets to be quite a few spots in 3 weeks.
What's the difference when you go in the home now from when you started?
Not much, other than obviously I think we're trying to build on the success that we've had, and I think there's some proof in the pudding and that we're doing things right, and I think there's a lot of people that believe in what we're doing and the steps that we're making, and of course there's a lot of room for improvement. That's why we're recruiting some very talented guys.
Mark, since you got here, were you recruiting against much better schools than in your first year?
Yes, I think our percentage may be going up, but we've always competed. I think that. I've tried to do that from day one, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to recruit the very best players we can against the best competition, and we're going to win some and we're going to lose some, but we're going to continue to fight and battle. And but ultimately, we're going to get the guys that are a good fit to play at the University of Kentucky.
Mark, have you had players comment to you that they're so glad they do get to sign early because, frankly, they're sick and tired of being pulled in different directions?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. So that I agree with you, and that's a great question, because some people are going to say it's not in the best interest of the players. Well, there's two opportunities to sign. If you don't want to sign and it's not right for you, don't sign. If it is right for you and you want to sign, well, then sign. So I don't understand that argument. They don't have to sign. None of these, we didn't twist any arms to get these signatures today. And yes, there was quite a few of these players saying, I'm sick of it. People coming and pulling up my child, and mothers and fathers, and just tired of people getting in their ear, and you got to understand the pressure that these guys are under, and this isn't pressure that just started in December. They've had pressure on them for a year, and it doesn't get any better in that last month.
Does the pressure get worse once they actually do commit to the school?
It's hard to say. I think sometimes I would. Yeah, it definitely doesn't stop. Many times that just means you're in the lead.
How many different cities did you go to the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's a good question, Alan. Again, I have no clue. I've been around.
Did you ever wake up in a place and go, and you forgot what city it's in?
Well, yeah, the pilots sometimes I would just ask them, like, where am I landing? Yeah, I really would, because the assistants would be there to pick me up. So you'd be going to some very small towns and some places where, I'm glad somebody picked me up, because I would have been stranded at some of these FBOs. So.
What did you tell Terry about the current quarterback depth and what you could expect in the competition?
I told him exactly what it is, exactly what you know, and I think everybody that plays that position better fully expect to come in and compete.
Any other questions?
Did you really just lean against the tree and hear yourself paddle it?
No, but I had to ask the players yesterday. I said, who was it? I forgot to ask them in the team meeting. Then after practice yesterday, I asked them. I said, who was it that flanked me and was just blasting me? And very meekly, Michael Nesbitt was like, that was me. And so I owe him a little something. Someday I'll get him back. But yeah, the guys were up on the fort, and I couldn't move off the tree because they were blasting me. And then he had me from the side, so I was in bad shape. I don't think they felt bad for me one bit either. They let me have it. So.
Whose idea was it to do this?
It was mine. I really wanted to do. Yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, I didn't really tell anybody except my ops guy, Frank Pafano. It was the only guy I told for a long time. So yeah.
Do you think about sitting that out? I mean, you're obviously a target that they're going to want to hit.
Pardon me?
Did you think about not doing it and just watching?
Yeah, I did, but I made all the full-time guys go. You know what I mean? I knew that the players wanted to blast some of these guys pretty good. Not me, but I knew they wanted to get after some of them. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it definitely hurts. It'll get you. And you can imagine 105 of these football players too. There's no mercy. It's not like you got shot one time and you put your hands up and you're still getting tattooed. And so I have welts all over me.
Players have talked about just this bowl practice season in general being more fun. Has that been a concerted effort on your part?
It has, definitely. I think, last year I was definitely a little gung-ho on making sure, really pushing the program. And that's still the case, but there has to be some balance there. They have to enjoy what they're doing, and camaraderie still counts. And, I think, I had to be conscious of that, of how many practices, how long they were, and all that. And I think we had a really good balance this year, and the guys have been very energetic and focused while they're out there.
Are there any specific positions you need to get with these final 3 or 4 spots that you're...
Well, I don't know. I feel like we hit on all of our needs. I really do. I think you're always hunting, a defensive lineman, an offensive lineman, possibly a wideout. There's a home. There's some guys out there that are home runs also at some other positions. I think linebacker is a need, and there's some big time guys out there that we have a chance at. So I think getting the best players is most important. I really feel like we hit a lot of needs between last year's group and some young guys we have in this year's. I feel like we're in pretty good position, but you're always looking for the best players you can get.
Have an identity. And last year you talked a lot about sort of the integrity and the character and those sorts of things. Is there anything about this group that really stands out?
I think much the same, and I mean that. I think, as we have more and more time to recruit these guys, as we get better and keep on pushing the program forward, I think, myself, being in this and going through my 5th year and going into the 6th, I think you understand the importance of guys that want to do things right. I think you all feel that and see that throughout the year, how difficult it is and how taxing it is on players and everybody. And so that mental and physical strain, it takes a long time, and you try to eliminate as much baggage as you can. What I mean by that is maybe academics and so on. You want guys to eliminate the clutter, if you will. And I think, last year's group and this year's group I'm very excited about. That doesn't mean that you're not, going to continue to work with kids that are maybe at a, little greater risk. You want to continue to help guys and give them opportunities. And, I'm very proud of some of the guys that we just graduated that if you went back, 2 or 3 years, maybe we wouldn't have had a good feeling that they were going to graduate, and they pulled through it, and they did that.